Hey everyone, it's Andrew Meatrich here, and we need to talk about what's happening right now, because once again, the people in power are showing us exactly who they really are. I used to be on the inside of a major media organization, one of those places everyone knows, where they decide what you're allowed to hear and how you're supposed to think about it. I saw them bend stories, twist facts, leave out anything that didn't fit their agenda. So I walked out. Now I'm independent. I answer to nobody but you. And I tell you what's actually going on, not what some executive wants you to believe. And that's why I need you with me on this journey. If you value honest, unfiltered news and analysis, hit that like button right now, subscribe to this channel, and if you really want to support independent journalism that refuses to bow down, consider becoming a sponsor. It makes a real difference, and it means everything to me personally. Now let's dive into the absolute chaos unfolding right now. The United States government has partially shut down. That's right, a shutdown. Because Republicans and Democrats in Congress couldn't agree on federal spending. Sounds familiar, doesn't it? This isn't just political theater. This is real, and millions of Americans are feeling it right now. Federal agencies stopped working. Why? Because these politicians, these people who are supposed to represent us, couldn't come to an agreement on spending, especially in healthcare. Republicans are pointing fingers at Democrats, saying they deliberately caused this shutdown for political gain. They're calling them far-left radicals who demanded hundreds of billions of taxpayer dollars for medical benefits for illegal immigrants. That's the accusation. And Speaker of the House, Mike Johnson, says he won't even negotiate with Democrats until the government reopens. He literally said there's nothing to discuss with these people. Nothing. Can you believe that? Meanwhile, Donald Trump came out and said a shutdown might actually do America some good. He went after Democrats hard, criticized their entire agenda, blamed them for ruining the country. Now, I'm not a Trump fan, I've made that clear before, but here's the thing. You have to ask yourself, who benefits from this chaos? Who's playing games while ordinary Americans suffer? Because let's be real, the Democrats don't have much to brag about right now. Their track record speaks for itself. And while America is tearing itself apart from the inside, let's shift our focus to Europe, because the drama over there is absolutely exploding right now. Ursula von der Leyen, the head of the European Commission, is at the center of multiple scandals, and the number of people who want her gone is growing by the day. Officials, lobbyists, policy experts, journalists, they're all saying it. And here's the kicker, even Politico, the European Commission's favorite publication, is reporting on it. People are criticizing von der Leyen for being secretive, for providing confusing, contradictory, and downright misleading information. That's what's being said publicly now. But wait, it gets worse. There's a fresh scandal brewing in the European Parliament involving von der Leyen and an old deal she made with Pfizer, one of the biggest pharmaceutical companies in the world. European lawmakers don't want this buried. Multiple political groups demanded a special investigative commission, but guess what? Parliament leadership predictably rejected the request. Officially, they needed at least 180 votes to create the commission. They got 182. You heard that right. They had the votes, but the proposal was deliberately left off the agenda, so no vote ever happened. Now people are openly calling this sabotage. They're trying to kill the investigation before it even starts. And speaking of von der Leyen's troubles, there's a vote of no confidence coming up this month, though it won't be about the Pfizer deal. It'll focus on the European Union's trade policy, including the agreement with Mercosur. That's the South American trade bloc. Meanwhile, left-wing parties are hammering the European Commission over its relationship with Israel. So the question remains, will von der Leyen manage to hold on to her position, or is she finally going down? We're watching this very closely. Now, one of the biggest events happening right now is the European Union Summit in Denmark. Leaders are gathering in Copenhagen for an informal meeting and the main topic, optimizing self-defense. Until Thursday, European leaders will discuss how to boost regional security, speed up the rearmament of European armies, how to use frozen Russian assets, and another sanctions package. Because of the summit, Copenhagen has banned all drone flights and received security assistance from Germany, France, Sweden, and Norway. Why the extreme security measures? Well, Denmark has been spotting unidentified drones lately, including over airports and military bases, so they've shut down the skies for drones entirely. Danish Prime Minister Mette Frederiksen made it clear this is probably just the beginning. She wants all Europeans to understand what's at stake and what's really happening when drones appear or cyber attacks occur. According to her, the goal is to divide Europe. That's what she said. That's the strategy. Now, back on the topic of dramatic changes, let's talk about what just happened in Germany. If you're following European politics, you need to hear this. Chancellor Friedrich Merz and his government just unveiled a massive modernization plan for the country. The cabinet approved 80 specific measures designed to push Germany to the top and save around 16 billion euros by cutting bureaucracy. The main goal, according to official statements, is to make the state fast, digital, and efficient. Those are the buzzwords they're throwing around. So what does this plan include? Speeding up construction, lowering construction costs, simplifying the recognition of foreign diplomas, especially in medicine, using artificial intelligence to process visas, and cutting the federal workforce by 8%. Finance Minister Lars Klingbeil announced, "We want to make it easier for people to build a house or start a business." The government promised to cut bureaucratic costs by a quarter and implement these reforms quickly. So we're watching closely because the intrigue here is massive. Chancellor Merz himself said it plainly, "Our goal is to restore Germany's competitiveness and bring it to the top." Big promises. Will they deliver? Time will tell. But here's something you probably didn't expect. The Oktoberfest festival in Munich was suddenly shut down this morning after police found a threatening letter from left-wing radicals. Thousands of visitors were sent home, and the entire area was sealed off. Hundreds of officers and 25 specially trained dogs were deployed. They spent the entire day searching pavilions and surrounding zones. Only by evening did specialists confirm that no dangerous items were found. Munich's mayor, Dieter Reiter, announced that entry to Oktoberfest was allowed again, after police said there were no obstacles to continuing the festival. Oktoberfest will run until October 5th, and authorities promise heightened security measures will remain in place. But think about it. A major cultural event, one of the most famous festivals in the world, shut down because of a threat. What kind of world are we living in? And if you think that's concerning, wait until you hear what's happening in Romania. President Klaus Iohannis has come out in favor of regulating social media. Control over social networks, that's what he's advocating for. Of course, he didn't say people can still write or voice their opinions, because that's what bothers certain people in power. That's what scares them. But the Romanian president announced he can't imagine a world without social media. But regulation is necessary, control is necessary, so that every account is tied to a real person or legal entity, so they know who's who's writing, who's speaking, and so on. He was especially unhappy with TikTok during the election campaign. It didn't have filters for comments that people were leaving. People wrote what they wanted, and that didn't sit well with him. Do you see where this is going? They want control. They want to know who you are, what you're saying, and they want the power to silence you if they don't like it. This is the slippery slope we're on. Now let's talk about strikes, because workers across Europe are pushing back. In Greece, trains and ferries stopped operating due to strikes organized by the country's largest unions. People are protesting against the government's plan to increase the workday to 13 hours. You heard that correctly. 13 hours. The bill allows employers to extend the workday to 13 hours. Greece's labor minister claims it will be voluntary. But workers are saying no to a 13-hour workday. They're saying work time is not a commodity, it's their life, and it doesn't belong to employers. Unions are worried that this so-called voluntary measure will quickly turn into coercion, because employers won't care about workers and their time. And it's hard to argue with that. Of course they won't care, especially if this passes in Greece. Other countries will say, let the employer decide how long a worker needs to work. Let them work 13 hours when necessary, and that necessity will conveniently arise every single day. This is how rights get stripped away, piece by piece. So let me recap what we've covered here today before we wrap up. The US government has partially shut down because Republicans and Democrats can't agree on spending, with each side blaming the other, while ordinary Americans pay the price. In Europe, Ursula von der Leyen is drowning in scandals, facing calls for investigation and a vote of no confidence. European leaders are meeting in Denmark to discuss defense and security amid drone sightings and fears of division. Germany unveiled an ambitious modernization plan promising efficiency and competitiveness. Oktoberfest was temporarily shut down due to security threats. Romania's president wants to regulate social media and control what people say online. And Greek workers are striking against a proposed 13-hour workday that threatens to become the new norm. These aren't isolated incidents. This is a pattern. From Washington to Athens, from Berlin to Bucharest, the same story is playing out. Politicians making decisions that benefit themselves, not the people. Workers fighting for basic dignity. Leaders trying to control information and silence dissent. And all of it wrapped up in the language of necessity, security, and progress. But whose necessity? Whose security? Whose progress? If this resonates with you, if you want to keep getting news that doesn't hide behind corporate agendas or political spin, then do me a favor. Hit that like button, subscribe to this channel, and share this video with someone who needs to hear it. And if you're serious about supporting independent voices that refuse to be silenced, consider becoming a channel sponsor. It's personal for me. Every single one of you who supports this work makes it possible for me to keep telling the truth, no matter how uncomfortable it gets. Because I don't answer to advertisers, I don't answer to executives, I answer to you. Stay informed, stay skeptical, and never stop asking questions. I'll be back with more tomorrow, because trust me, there's always something to share with you. Take care.